All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Meat Block Podcast. This is part 2 of our Humane Handling series. Last time we talked to Chuck Bildstein from Bunzel, the Humane Handling Equipment Specialist. And this week, we have a very special guest, Dr. Michele Pfannenstiel, CEO of Dirigo Food Safety, for which I work as a senior associate on the food safety team. Dr. P, as she's affectionately referred to, is a leader in the industry of food safety, compliance, operations, re-regionalizing, food economies. She's got a lot of things going on, has her hand in a lot of honeypots right now, and we wanted to bring her on because Dr. P is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to animals and food production and quality assurance. And when we've gone on a couple of trips now where we've gone and worked with people on site, and I think they're awesome because I get to ride in the car or drive, and I just pepper Dr. P with questions the entire way, and I'm like a kid in a candy store because it's just like question. Great answer, question, just it's so fun. And so I thought it'd be great to bring Dr. P on the show today.
Hey guys, Travis here. Just want to talk about how you could support our show is by supporting Bunzel Processor Division has been in the food processing and packaging industry for over 135 years, offering over 35,000 of high quality products designed specifically to meet the needs of the meat processing, butchery, food processing, and janitorial industrial industries. Bunzel Processor Division also specializes in packaging equipment and supplies, offering the Multivac P-Series line of chamber packaging machines, as well as the Clarity line of shrink bags, roll stock film, and vacuum pouches. They have numerous product experts and outstanding customer service. And let's not forget, free UPS ground shipping on all orders over $400 or more. And I want to just circle back to the outstanding customer service. They truly do. I call someone up there when I'm in a pickle. They've helped out David numerous times with their humane handling program. Just the experts alone they have on staff. Just take a look, listen to the last episode we did with Chuck Bildstein. Say you have some other captive bolt machine that is just not working correctly. You could trade that in for $400 towards a new model. So please check out the link in the show notes. Please support them. And by supporting them, you support us. Go to their website, bunzelpd.com. Once again, that's bunzelpd.com. All right, on with the show.
Good cutting enhances the quality of good meat. In his way, the meat cutter is an artist. Poor cutting results in an inferior piece of meat, regardless of quality.
Thank you for joining.
Absolutely happy to be here.
We've done a lot of work recently with some small farms and developing humane handling programs. No matter the size of the place, we worked with a place in Pennsylvania with a 2-man slaughter crew and developed a humane handling program for them. Before we dive into that, though, maybe we could get you to tell us about you a little bit. You've got you're a doctor of veterinary medicine, and you've worked in the service, and you've been an entrepreneur and a business owner for many years. What would you like us to know about you?
Well, thank you so much for having me on, David. It's always a pleasure to, get on a Zoom call with you because we have a good time. So I am Dr. Michele Pfannenstiel. I am both kinds of vet. I'm a veterinarian, and I served in the U.S. Army Vet Corps. We're the smallest corps in the U.S. Army, and we are the Department of Defense Executive Agent for Food Safety, because most of the things that go wrong with our food in terms of foodborne illness and microbes and things like that come from animals. And we are the experts as veterinarians in diseases that animals can give us. So it's one of our many areas of expertise as veterinarians. And so what do I want you guys to know about me? I mean, like the passion and dedication that I have, if we're talking about humane handling, for one bad day. I believe that food safety starts on the farm, and that a humane handling program starts before you even think about, your slaughter dates and things like that. In the same way that I think that a quality carcass starts well before you even think about your slaughter dates. You cannot have quality carcasses without a fabulous humane handling program, in my opinion. And you can't have a program that meets the mission of what we are doing in re-regionalized agriculture and small meat processing without a systematic, robust humane handling program.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's something we're going to talk about in a little bit, is the difference between a systematic approach to humane handling and a robust systematic approach. And so we're going to demystify that a little bit. I get that question weekly, what's the difference? And my inspector said I need a more robust approach. And what does that really mean? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But before we get there, would you mind telling us a little bit about what you did when you were in the service?
Oh, sure. So I was the base veterinarian at Fort Monmouth, and then up at West Point, the U.S. Military Academy, where the Army trains. So go Army, beat Navy. I'm a big West Point fan because I was cadre there. And what I did, that was a food inspection post. There's a huge amount of food that goes through New York and New Jersey. And I inspected everybody from the catering trucks at Fort that served the Marine Corps' mission at Fort Hamilton, to the PX at Sandy Hook, to the the chow hall at West Point, where we feed all the cadets. And we were, the work is incredibly important because most people don't understand this, but 9 of our top 10 agents of bioterrorism would come to us through our food supply. And so the Army veterinarians, and then all of the food inspectors that worked for me, were in charge of making sure that nothing untoward happened to our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, and DoD civilians through the food supply.
Wow, that's fascinating. I mean, it's something that you don't really think about, I mean, for all intents and purposes, the supply chain for the armed forces are really, I mean, what's more important? Armed forces, schools, hospitals. I mean, that's really,
right.
Really where we need the highest quality of all. That's really fascinating. Thank you for doing that.
Well, and there are a number of things that happen that armies don't like because of foodborne illness. I have a buddy of mine who in 2006, during the surge in Fallujah, his Marines went down to 79% fighting strength because of an outbreak of foodborne illness.
No kidding. And is that because of local supply chains or the...
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Fascinating.
Yep.
So that must be
it's a pretty serious issue for a global army.
No kidding. Wow, I would love to learn more about the supply chain construction around the world and temporary supply chains and things like that as different operations move around. I think that'd be a really fascinating thing to talk about sometime.
Well, I'll just come back to the podcast.
Great. Okay, so you mentioned auditing, and I know some of the work we've done together has been auditing facilities, whether it's a due diligence for a facility that wants to open up or do a retrofit, or it's for an existing facility that is out of compliance or has an upcoming FSA or GFSI audit. We come in and kind of do a gap analysis or a desk audit, as well as a facility audit, and we don't just do those things for food safety programs. We also do those for humane handling programs, because a humane handling program should be set up in the fashion of a food safety program, right? It should have a hazard analysis. It should have and a process flow and all of the different points where we're going to control for those hazards and the SOPs and the prerequisite programs that go into building up that program so that these hazards are not reasonably likely to occur. As an auditor, what do you often see in your average plant with a slaughter operation as far as humane handling? What's the status quo in the country right now from your perspective? Is that even a fair question? Is it?
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely is, because the status quo is I walk in and I'm an auditor and somebody's paying me to be there. And I say, could I please see your humane handling documentation? Oh, we have a robust humane handling program. Excellent. Could I please see your documentation? Oh, no, let me tell you how robust our humane handling program is. Fascinating. Could I see that documentation? Could you talk to me about where you got trained? And what happens is, I wish I could tell you that I would walk into multiple plants who told me they had, even before I got there, robust humane handling programs when they really don't. And I walk in and they have good enough humane handling programs, right? I have been in places where it's like one step above getting shut down, humane handling programs. And I only ask a couple of questions and I know whether or not they'll be calling me in the future when they get a NOE, a notice of enforcements, whatever, I don't remember what it's called, but a NOE for a humane handling violation. I can pick them out when I do it because I say, where's your second weapon?
Right.
And it's like in the office.
Right.
What's your weapons cleaning program? I'm a soldier, right? We clean our weapons. So I don't care what you're using. We clean our weapons. And make no mistake, they are weapons, right? And so if you don't have a documented training program and cleaning program and maintenance program for your weaponry, I know you don't have anything else. Because if you're not respecting that, like, what are we doing here? So
absolutely. And that's a fantastic point. The preventative maintenance program is such an overlooked piece of the robust systematic approach to humane handling. And even just a systematic approach, it's often lacking. That may be a good time to jump into that. So, systematic versus robust systematic approaches to humane handling. The way that I've understood it, historically is that a systematic approach is where, we've got a program in the plant. I'll use a plant that I used to work at as an example. There was 5 people on the slaughter floor. There was no training program. You were a new person on the floor and people told you what to do. And you just tried to, when in Rome, just follow everybody else's lead and just watch and learn. And that is good for some people. That's good for the type of learner I am, but it's very stressful. And it doesn't instill a lot of confidence in people. So basically, a systematic approach is like you have standardized ways of doing things, but they're just generally spoken. They're not documented. There's not and so the difference between that and a robust approach is that the robust systematic approach has everything documented, including a very clear annual retrain, an annual reassessment, an onboarding program for new employees, a humane stunning specific training program, a corrective actions program. This is what we're going to do from receiving animals to putting them in the cooler or bleeding them out. Everything in between, from receiving to facilities to overnight holding programs to what happens if a beef goes down, slips and falls and doesn't get back up. It's all written out in SOPs. We monitor it. We document the results. We have a corrective action program. That's really the difference. We tell the government exactly what we're going to do, and then we do it, and then we document that we did it, and then we tell them what's going to happen if something goes sideways, and everybody knows. Because I'm sure you've seen it where a slaughter. I mean, you and I have seen it together where someone took a shot and it didn't go the way that it was supposed to go, and they got the deer in the headlights look in their eyes, and that's the moment when NOEs happen. That's when a NOE goes from being a twinkle in a CSI's eyes, a living, breathing document,
to an actual right. The way I think about it is the way I think about everything, whether I'm designing a vulnerability assessment, like what I call a VASIP, right? Or an actual HACCP plan or preventive controls plan over on the FDA side of the house, or a robust, systematic humane handling program. Everything is predicated on education and training. Okay, I want everybody to think about a pyramid or a triangle. And the base of that pyramid and triangle is education and training. In order to do this well, you must be committed to your training program, which means you have to spend time, talent, and treasure on your training program in order to do it. Because nobody is born knowing how to slaughter animals, right? And there are new things that we do. I mean, the way I learned at vet school is not what we do now. So there's just, you've got to be a committed lifelong learner in order really to do robust, systematic humane handling. So the base of your pyramid is always education and training. And then the middle of your pyramid is everything exactly like you're talking about, David. All of those programs, corrective action programs, your preventative maintenance program, your, like the whatever programs it takes for everything to happen correctly, right? For the animal to walk into the chute, get into the head gate, and be ready for the next step, which is the stun and the stun and the stick, right? And to do that. And so that's the top of the pyramid. Doing that correctly is the top of the pyramid. Having that go on with no errors is the goal. The same way when we look at this same construct, education and training programs, and then your hazards-based food safety plan, that's how we do it over on, like, I suppose the after the animal is dead side of the house. Here we have education and training, programs-based humane handling, and then the actual humane handling SOP and work instructions that details out everything that you're going to do when it go for this to go well and for that animal to have one bad day.
So many awesome things. I love the imagery of the pyramid. That's fantastic, and I couldn't agree more. There's so many things that I want to point out there. Most specifically, though, you just said the magic phrase, and you brought this to my attention a couple of weeks ago: work instructions. We were going over some SOPs that I had written, and Dr. P was like, "Who did you write this for?" Because you wrote this for me. Yeah, I did. I tried to write it for a doctor. I didn't write it for people on the floor who have to actually enact the SOP. So Dr. P said, you need to write work instructions with this thing so that people know how to do it, right? Because I can totally relate. I've gone back and read my food safety plans, read a bunch of technical jargon, earlier in my career, and was just like, nope, back on the shelf. Annually reassessed as not readable.
Annually reassessed as not readable. That's awesome. No, but that's really true. And I think that's one of the things that really hinders us in the industry, in the food safety industry, is making documentation that auditors like to read, because then you're more likely to pass your audit. Okay. And I hate that. I don't like when we write documentation for our clients. I know I can get through any auditor because, one, I am an auditor, and two, I've never not gotten through an auditor. I've never not gotten through any number of levels of USDA or FDA or whatever. I just get through it because, I have like doctor in front of my name and it works. And so we write our documentation for the people who are using the documentation, right? So it doesn't do any good to tell somebody who struggled to get his or her GED that we do a robust, systematic humane handling program here, right? Because it's going to take you 15 minutes to explain what that is. But if instead you say, here's the part that you say they're in charge of the penning, okay? You're in charge of the penning, and it is your job to make sure the animals are as happy and comfortable here as they can be. And if you were going to be happy and comfortable here, what do you think is important? Right? Do you think the footing is important? There's so much of an animal's brain that its safety depends on its feet, right? Our safety doesn't depend on our feet. Our safety depends on our eyes. But For an animal, its safety depends on its feet, and knowing where its feet are and being able to confidently step through a penning system. That's how we lower distress. That's the first place to think about when you're lowering distress. And so if you're looking at work instructions for somebody who's running the penning program, have them think like the animal. What makes that animal feel safe and comfortable and low stress? A place to put its feet, a place where it can get fresh water if it's needed. It's not running into other people or other animals, right? It's not going to go get stuck in a corner. And then you ask that person to say, hey, your job every day is to take this checklist, which is written in the language that the person reads and writes in, and make sure all those things we talked about, make sure that happens every day. You are the key person. You hold the door for our humane handling program and the quality of our carcasses that leave our facility.
Yeah. Wow. That was perfect. Thank you for saying that, especially when it comes to work instructions that are written in the language that the person reads and writes in. 9/9 of 10 plants are English only. And so a lot of the food safety programming and humane handling program is completely inaccessible to the majority of the United States food production workforce. And that is a way of, whether we want to admit it or not, that is a huge gatekeeping mechanism that it prevents people from lateral or upward mobility who are curious, because there's no way to get the information. There's no way to read it and study it. And then it's if there's no continual training or continual improvement program when it comes to performance achievement, people can't ask. These plants are not generally places where, let's be totally honest, these places are not places where people can walk in off the floor and say, hey, I'd love to learn more about why we do this way. Can you please give me some materials? That's just not accessible to people in our workforce. And we have so many talented people that feel like they don't. So I thank you for bringing that up and mentioning.
I mean, there is a huge, when we look at small and very small plants and we look who staffs them, we are missing a huge portion of the population and the talent pool to improve individual plants unless we give them access to SOPs in their language, which is why we have our SOPs, or actually they've all been translated into Spanish and we're rolling it out onto Food Safety University.
Yeah. I would love to sometime talk a little bit more about actual animals and biology and physiology at some point in the stunning process. I think maybe that could be part 3 if we can come back.
Sure.
But I just for a moment, I would love to hear, you mentioned Food Safety University and what that means. If you wouldn't mind, I'd love you to describe that.
Sure. So what we've done is to provide the best course out there for anybody who's getting into food production, because what most people really want, okay, is that they want their food, 1, to sell itself, and 2, to be the solution to a problem. Okay. Because people don't buy food. People buy a solution to a problem. Okay. And I mean, like everybody who's ever made a sausage and been like, I'm going to go do this for a living, wants that sausage to be the solution to a problem. And it is just simply not. And Food Safety University exists because that sausage or that cupcake or that bacon needs to be wrapped in an envelope of meeting government standards. Okay, at a bare minimum. And then you actually have to meet market expectations. So it's not, I'm not going to lie, as somebody who is putting together an e-commerce platform with my business partners, and I go in and I audit people, if they don't meet my audit standard and they sit there and they tell me they're inspected by the USDA, I do not care, because it's my platform and it's our time, talent, and treasure that is being reflected on that platform. So you have to meet, it's not enough to have the food. It's not enough to meet government regulations. You must meet market standards. Mm-hmm. And Food Safety University exists to help people meet those market standards so that they can go out and they can make a profit. We're not doing this as a charity. We're doing this because we as entrepreneurs believe in freedom and opportunity. But freedom and opportunity is a hell of a lot easier if you're actually making money. And that's what we do at Food Safety University. I even have a course on how to sell everything and how to get book solid with your food production. Because you have to. None of this is tenable if you're not making money.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, well said. So Food Safety University is what do you learn?
Oh, sure. So we have a whole bunch of things. So the first thing that would be interesting to your audiences is that most people start off with their online meat and poultry HACCP class. Mm-hmm. So we will certify you and your whole entire team, the more the merrier, I tell everybody, in meat and poultry HACCP, where in order to pass, you do actually have to write a HACCP plan. And you can't take one of our templates because we have a ton of those and hand in one of your templates as your homework. Do not hand me back my HACCP plan that I already wrote as your homework. So you're going to start out with that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to learn about specifications, because unless you know what you're making, we might as well not be making it. Right? And so you go through your specifications course, and then you go through and you take all of our template documentation that starts with a risk analysis. You've got to understand what your risk is of making something out of spec. And then you take our policies and you make sure our risk-based policy is exactly what you need. And then you look at our specification standard operating procedure and create a whole bunch of spec logs for raw product and finished product and work in process product. And then you have a spec program. And then you do a 90-day validation. And we give you that and we teach you how to do it. Because food safety is not only doing the right thing the right way every time you do it, it's doing what you said you were doing and proving it is helpful. And that's what we teach you at Food Safety University.
That's awesome. There's not a lot that I don't know of anything else out there that teaches you everything. I've been to several HACCP certifications at this point, and left with a kind of a rudimentary understanding, but seeing this, the synergy between all of the different programs and how they fit together is really, really an awesome opportunity. And thank you for sharing that. Where can we find that if we want to look that up?
So the first thing I want to know is that you're like committed to the HACCP process. So we have this fabulous download called the 12 Steps of HACCP. Okay, HACCP, it's a 12-step program. And you can go get that download at www.foodsafetyuniversity.com.
Awesome. Okay. And would you mind sharing your email in case anybody has any questions for you to follow up on the humane handling segment or about Food Safety University?
Oh, yeah, sure. You can always get in touch with me, and I'm Michele, and that's with one L. So Michele at dvzarling.com. And you can catch me on Instagram at Food Safety University.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us for this discussion on humane handling and why it's so important to implement a robust systematic approach. And hopefully we'll have you on again where we can actually talk about animals and their behaviors and things like that.
I think that would be super fun.
Thank you so much for your time. And again, if anybody has any questions about humane handling or how to get in touch with Dr. P or myself to learn more about how to create and implement a management, operations and personnel management system into your facility or future facility, you know where to find me on Instagram, but also David at Dirigo Food Safety. All right. Thank you so much. And until next time, keep your knives sharp and live in the margin.
Hey guys, Travis here. Just want to talk about how you could support our show is by supporting our sponsor, Bunzl Processing Division. And they offer a wide variety of disposables, everything from N95 mask, disposable gloves, even equipment like Jarvis lines of captive bolts, well saws, etc. they have a wide variety of cutlery. Their NX Pro series, exclusive to Bunzl Processing Division, is comparable to all butcher cutlery out there right now for significantly less price. It's exclusive to Bunzl. I've been using the NX Pro line for the last month. I haven't had to take them to a stone yet. Their steels are great. They have a 7.5-inch rough cut steel with a polished tip that I love. I use their polished steel on the slaughter truck. Their lamb skinner is the best lamb skinner I have used, hands down. It's amazing. Please check out Bunzl Processor Division and the NX Pro series cutlery. Go to their website, bunzlpd.com. Once again, that's bunzlpd.com. All right, on with the show.